So let's talk about Mercury. We've talked about Mercury in the past, but let's summarize so that we are ready to move forward. Mercury is the winged messenger of the gods in ancient Greek mythology and also in Roman mythology. It's associated with the fourth ray of harmony through conflict, which in its turn is associated with the plane of intuition. Here you can see a nice sculpture of Mercury holding wheels and wearing his winged helmet, one of his symbols. Let me quickly remind you of the lower planes or the three planes of human endeavor, as we have seen them in the constitution of man. So the lowest plane where human beings are active is the physical plane. Of course, we know that. It's the plane that we know best, I would say. And this is subdivided into the dense physical level and the etheric level, the finer upper levels of the physical plane. Then we have the sphere of emotion, the astral plane or the emotional plane. So everything we feel, all our emotions, let's say, live and hail from this plane. And then we have the mental plane, which again is subdivided into two major spheres. One is the sphere of the concrete mind. The concrete mind is the analytical mind that we're also familiar with because it's the mind of the personality. And then we have the abstract mind, which is represents the upper levels of the mental plane, and it's the mental capability of the soul. So I'm going to write soul and personality here for the sake of clarity, and also to remind you that this is the sphere of the personality, and from here and upwards, we are entering the realm of the soul. So what's going on with Mercury? Mercury is associated with communication, with speech, with transportation, with everything that's in between. And why not? Because he is the messenger. And as the messenger, it means that, well, what the symbol suggests is that Mercury was an energy that was free to move between different planes, the divine realm, the realm of human beings, and the realm of the dead, the underworld. Okay. But we know that essentially the energy of Mercury represents the function of the intuition. And why we are having so much difficulty in working with the energy of Mercury, to the extent where Mercury retrograde has become a universal symbol for bad news. I would say that it's bad form on behalf of humanity. So the function of not the function, but let's say that the plane of intuition is the plane of ideas that Plato spoke about. It's also the plane of saints of the Christian religion. And it's a realm where things are whole. So all the prototypes of the things that we see in the spheres of the personality exist whole and integrated on the plane of intuition. So let's assume that on the intuitive plane, there is the perfect model for everything that we see manifesting, that everything we see functioning in the worlds of the personality. So Mercury's job is to let the personality know about this, about its archetypal design, about the pattern, about the plan that it has been created to manifest, to bring into existence in the worlds of the personality. Now, the catch is that as these prototypes descend into the planes of personality, they get fragmented, or that is the way that our mind conceives them. And that happens because of the function of time. So let's say that this same design becomes something like that here in the domain of the personality. This means that the main points concerning this plan are scattered on different levels, and because with levels we have to assume a different temporal function, we would say that they are geographically and temporally scattered. And Mercury's job is to travel between these points again and again and again in an attempt to make known this pattern to the personality, just in case the personality manages to actualize it, to bring it into existence in the outer world. This sounds very nice, and it's actually fascinating. But what happens is that Mercury's function clashes with the way we have organized our life, because the way we organize our life is managed mainly by the concrete mind and our emotions. So here we have our programs, our routines, and our aims, our targets. And then here comes Mercury, and Mercury doesn't really care, the energy of Mercury doesn't really care about our programs and targets, but it cares very much about this plan as it exists on the intuitive plane and its actualization. So Mercury's energy keeps nudging us to go and find these points in our emotion, in our mind, in our etheric existence, in our physical existence. And these points are outside the routines of our everyday life. And so it creates friction, and it creates unexpected events. And I would say they're unexpected as regards our program. They are unexpected in so much as we didn't plan for them, but in essence, they are very much there and very much planned as regards our soul, our ego, our truest, innermost part. However, that doesn't mean that the personality agrees and that it's ready to upset its ways to go in search of this plan and work for its actualization. That's one problem with that we face as personalities with Mercury's energy. My suggestion is that when we feel a strong desire to venture outside our comfort zone and the sphere of our everyday life, we should do so, because it is most likely that we are heading towards a meeting with an emotional state, a mental state, a person, a situation that we need to integrate something vital for our existence. So this is one part that makes our cooperation with Mercury's energy difficult. And then there is another part which has to do with how Mercury's energy is focused. And essentially how it's focused is that most of the time, again, okay, so we have these spheres, they are key to our teaching here. So you have realized that. And most of the time, Mercury is used on the etheric planes, and it is run, or it carries, or it executes, or it distributes, whichever, no, this is not mental, whichever word you want to use, the energy of other planets which may stand higher or on finer levels than Mercury. So most of the time Mercury is down here on the etheric, and its sphere of influence for this reason is rather limited. So essentially it influences the physical. When Mercury is retrograde, its relationship to Earth is changing. And that doesn't mean, please, this doesn't mean that its orbit changes or anything like that, but the way it relates to Earth changes, and it stands higher in the emotional plane, which means that its sphere of influence grows. If we combine this with the fact that the majority of humanity is focused in the astral plane most of the time, and by that I mean that most of the time we react to things and we engage with situations and we engage with people as we feel and not as we think. There is the anti-log that no, it is as we think, but I would say, how is the way that we think formed? And usually it is formed to serve the way that we feel. So we formulate mental attitudes and mental opinions that are comfortable for us, that are familiar, that make us feel well. So humanity's main plane of focus at the time is the astral. So when Mercury starts distributing its energy from the astral plane, it influences much more effectively the astral plane itself, but it also influences in a more dynamic way the etheric and the physical planes, meaning that it is easier for Mercury to do its job. And its job is none other than what we described here. So if Mercury stands here, excuse me, if Mercury stands here, it can only try and guide us to integrate, to find these points. However, if Mercury stands here, whoops, okay, my drawing skills, not very good. Okay, so, but if Mercury stands here in the astral plane, then it can try and influence us to find and integrate all these points which lie in the astral plane and on the etheric plane and on the physical plane. Usually this translates to a stronger urge to venture outside our comfort zone, and also a multiplication of the factor of the unexpected in our everyday life.